Welcome to the Hallows Eve edition of the Final Fantasy series. We're talking about the scariest genre of all. Permadeath grid-based tactical JRPG you play on your phone. Okay, so I played this on my phone. Did I need to? No. But I did, and you know why? It's because of convenience. I just have to be real with you right now. This game was hard. It was really hard to get through. And if I didn't have the convenience of my phone to get through it, this would have taken a hell of a lot longer. And you know what? I don't regret it. The controls, they got a little bad. They're pretty bad at times, but it was something I was able to deal with. The main complaint I had with the other games on the phone was the graphic style was so terrible. This game, it's fine. Played through Final Fantasy Tactics Remake, The War of the Lions it's called, and I found out later that the original release of Final Fantasy Tactics was dumbed down for Americans. We're used to that. But when this got re-released on the PSP and then Vita and then phone, as the War of the Lions remake, they upped the difficulty back to normal, and this game is hard. And there are no difficulty options. This is actually an important landmark in the Final Fantasy universe. We're jumping into the Ivalice Alliance? I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. Basically, this is like a spin-off world. A whole separate universe to Final Fantasy with its own world. And that's where the tactics games take place. It is a medieval, forsooth I say, thou'st beeth the evil one, that sort of level of speaking is done in this universe. Similar themes, similar magic, but like they spell things differently. It's just a different Final Fantasy world with its own canon that tactics games come into play later, and even a mainline game, Final Fantasy XII, takes place in the world of Ivalice. So this is a cool first step to explore this world for the first time. It was hard to pay attention to the story. I was too busy getting mixed up in the gameplay. We're gonna talk about it. So you never played a tactical RPG before? It's like Fire Emblem. It's a grid. You have your guy, you move him, and then somebody else moves, and then you attack, and you have to time things right. Everybody has a certain speed, and there's a list of order of how things go. It's kind of like a strategy board game. But there's no rule book on how the strategy works, and you get screwed over. I've barely ever tried this genre before. I mostly avoided it because I know it's brutal, and I actually did try Fire Emblem once. They released 2 Fire Emblem games at once, Birthright and Conquest. They did this because it was like, okay, Conquest is for the hardcores, Birthright is for newcomers. It's easier. This is for you if you've never been into Fire Emblem. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And I failed miserably on the easy version. I don't know why tactical RPGs need permadeath. Like, it's a staple. It's in every tactical RPG. Why? Why does the character have to die forever? What makes the game more fun with that? Why are you actively punished for being bad? Like, the game gets harder if you're bad at it? What? This video is going to be a little bit of rant. It's a little ranty. I have such a weird feeling because this game was so frustrating, but also it's one of the most, and I feel like a broken record saying this, it's one of the most beloved RPGs ever. I guess it's not on the same level of 6 and 7, but in terms of like Final Fantasy spin-offs, this is huge. People adore this game. And part of me thought that I should have going into it. This game advertises itself with that job system again. What we have here is another evolution of the job system from Final Fantasy V, but way more complicated, with way more little things you can change for yourself, more customizability, that's good, but I just think they take it a step too far. I began this game with 2 hours of tutorials. On the main menu, there's new game, continue, and tutorial. You go there and you can list through every little thing the game wants to tell you. And that's what I did. I did that in order as early as possible. I wanted to make sure this game went smoothly. 2 hours of this guy explaining things to me. As basic as how to move and attack to Zodiac compatibility. And let's talk about that. So one of the main lore elements to the Ivalice Alliance is the Zodiac signs. Every person in the game has this a sign. And it's very important to who they are and how they act in battle. So I want to just like go into the tutorial section of, this is like section 3 part 2 of 10 of 12. Of 42. This is section 3 part 2 of 42. Zodiac sign compatibility. When lines of equal length are drawn to form a triangle, signs at the triangle's points are of good compatibility. Gender also plays a significant role. Units with opposite signs and same gender have poorest compatibility. Units with opposite signs and opposite gender have excellent compatibility. Monsters are considered to be opposite gender to both male and female, but the same gender as other monsters. Compatibility affects both the amount of damage dealt to enemies and success rate of magics. For example, a unit attacks an enemy at good compatibility with a weapon, it'll deal 1/4 more damage than normally it would. Excellent compatibility would increase the amount of damage by half. On the other hand, damage dealt to enemies of poor compatibility is reduced by 1/4, and of extremely poor compatibility by half. Here is a very easy to follow chart on what I just said. I don't know if that's focusing. That is, yes. Section 3, part 2 of 42. There are so many little tiny stats and elements, status effects, weapons, job abilities, of course. It's too much. I gotta be honest, I didn't look into this Zodiac thing at all. Every character has a Zodiac sign, and that affects the battle. But I don't know whose sign I'm gonna go up against. And I'm not gonna change my character for a different sign. I've been training this character, like a level 20 Taurus versus a level 1 Libra. I don't really care. I never ever bothered with trying to figure out compatibility. What a waste of time. Like, the only way you do that is if you like print out a chart and keep it with you in your pocket. Oh, okay, like, oh, well, this is because of you, and I can draw the triangle here. It's like, I'm not doing that. There's a couple few smaller elements that I want to highlight as well. Every character has a bravery and a faith stat, and this confused me the whole game as well. I'm not really sure how these stats increase or decrease. All I know is mine just kind of fluctuated the whole game. But if a character's faith stat gets too high, like above 90 or something, they leave your party. They go away and you cannot use them anymore permanently. Because I guess they get too much faith and they just turn into one of those people like, oh, well, it's in God's hands. We don't need to fight it. God got it figured out. They leave. They leave your party. A character that you've trained the whole game for can just leave your party. And what do? If your faith stat is high enough, you do more magic damage. So like you want it to be higher, but you don't want it to get too high where you'll lose the character forever. So I don't know how you're supposed to balance that. Because I never figured it out, but I just went with it. Another thing I've described other games for is this constant feeling in the back of my mind that I'm doing this wrong, I'm not building my character correctly. And that definitely happened in this game. I just didn't know what I was doing wrong at any given moment. You don't know what the battle's going to be when you go in. These battles are 20 minutes, you're up against 5 or 6 people, and you have 5 people on your team. When do you switch jobs so you can bring over other abilities from the previous job to the new one? Because if you switch jobs, you're basically like back to being worthless because you're not leveled up in that job. And if you use abilities from your other job, they'll be less effective because you're not that job anymore. I figured I'll just do what I did in 5. I'll have like a black and a white mage combined into one. And I tried doing that, and he did great damage. Okay, now I want him to be able to heal because I'm dying so much. I'll make him a white mage. First of all, he doesn't cure very well because he's a new white mage. But now his black magic attacks suck, and I don't know why, because I thought magic was one stat, and if you have high magic, you could be good. That's not the case. So basically, for this game, I stuck pretty much everybody to one job each, and I know That's not what you're supposed to do. But I didn't seem to have a choice. There was a white mage that I trained from day one. The second I got him, he was a white mage. I kept giving him the cure abilities and the raise abilities. When I tried using raise, there's like a % chance that raise will work. It's not like the other games where you just revive your guy and you're good. No. You have a % chance that it'll work. And for this white mage, most of the time that percentage was like 18. This white mage, who ideally his stats were really high in magic, right? I don't know what affects the % chance. Is it the magic stat? What other stat would it be? I don't know. Why isn't he able to do this? He's the white mage. I trained him the whole game as white mage. Why can't he revive a guy? Even when he cures, it's like a pathetic amount of health we get. What am I doing wrong? My black mage, like I mentioned earlier, I tried just giving him white stats and not really upgrading his white magic. Just figured in a pinch he'll maybe be able to do something. And his raise percentage was 92. And when he cured, it was like double what my white mage was doing. Can somebody explain why that happens? This was my experience through Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions. People love this game. They seem to love it for the same reasons I love 5. Why am I not getting it? It was so frustrating. Part of me thinks this is very much a replay value game. Now that I've beaten it, I can go back and replay it and really see what to do. But I don't want to, first of all. And second of all, I'm not guaranteed to know what's going on because there's still things I haven't figured out. People who tell me this is an amazing game, it feels like The Godfather. You ever been told, oh, The Godfather's the greatest movie of all time? Oh, part 2? Don't even get me started. Part 2 is the greatest movie of all time. 3.5 hour movie. You watch it and you're like, all right, it's kind of hard to follow. It's also really slow. It's good, I guess, but I also feel like I've seen this mafia deal before in later movies. I'm sorry. I don't want to say The Godfather's bad. It's totally not, but I don't want to watch that again. It's 3.5 hours. They're like, no. The same thing happened to me when I watched it the first time. You gotta watch it the second time and the third time, and then you'll get it. I'm like, dude, it's a 3.5 hour movie. Now replace that with 40-hour Final Fantasy Tactics video game. I'm never replaying this game again. I'm sorry. Look, there are other tactics games, and I'll gladly play those, hopefully with my knowledge from this game. Even things I learned from Final Fantasy V's job system didn't really help me much. There's a class called the Chemist, which in FF5 was like, he can use 2 items at once. Ooh, whoa, 2 items at once. Didn't really appeal. Didn't feel like it was worth it. In this game, the Chemist's ability is that he's able to use items. As in, no one else can. And as you level up, you get job points, just like 5. And instead of just leveling up a job, like 5, where you get a new ability upon leveling up the job, you get points, like experience points, separate from XP. XP is separate, and you also have JP, job points, and you spend the job points on specific abilities for your character. The Chemist, for example, you need to spend your job points on any individual item you intend on using. He can't just use items. If you want a Phoenix Down to be able to revive your friend, you need to pay to be able to use Phoenix Downs, then buy Phoenix Downs. You need to do this for ethers, elixirs, any item you need to pay job points for, and ignore anything else you can possibly spend job points on. But honestly, that's my biggest tip going into this game. You need a Chemist. Forget the white mage. My white mage, I told you how worthless he was. Switch him to Chemist. I can always count on potions to do good. Chemists can also throw items, like a distance across the map. Very useful for trying to get another player out of a pinch. Even if you get Chemist abilities and apply them to other jobs, those jobs are not going to be able to throw unless you pay for the item throwing ability. Do you see how this game works? Everything is a little tiny detail you need to keep track of and need to make sure you have. In 5, you pretty much got a choice of like 2 job abilities. In this game, there's 5 different slots. There's like the main job slot, additional job ability, passive ability, some other ability, and then like a movement ability. All of these things can be interchanged with different abilities from different jobs. It's very complicated. And what was the best part about 5? Mastering jobs and being able to use their inherent passive abilities. That was so fun. That was the best part. In this game, you can master jobs by paying for each individual ability, which will most of the time be useless to you, and when you master a job, nothing happens. Hoorah! This game just felt like if you did well, you're punished. If you do poorly, you're very punished. If you do okay, you're kind of punished. When are you not punished? Every turn I had on this game, it was just like, what is this? I thought I knew everything. What's this? I got stabbed. This guy comes up to me and stabs me and runs away. And it just says atheist on the screen. I guess I don't believe in God anymore. What is an atheist? And nothing really changed. My character acted the same, but I was just an atheist. I don't know what that is. What was that? Look, I know, like I said, this is a rant. Don't worry, and it's almost over. I just needed to get that all out. My main point, my thesis statement, I don't think complexity and customizability are directly linked. That's what people say when they talk about how great this game is. The freedom that you have. You can really build whoever you want, more so than any job system we've seen before. But the price you pay is like a massive barrier of entry. Part of it is me being dumb, sure, you can say that and I accept that, but I refuse to accept that this game doesn't have flaws. It was kind of painful, and I know I'm so distraught and I'm ranting and I'm complaining, but honestly, it's still the best Final Fantasy spin-off. 90% of this game is dying and repeating the level. Now don't get me wrong, sometimes that is fun. There are certain levels that are just painfully unfair and it feels like I'm never gonna make it and I scrape by with luck. But there are some levels that I keep dying on and I keep feeling like, okay, this is cool. I can change my strategy here and there. Maybe I can get this new ability. Maybe that'll help. Maybe I could change a job, swap this guy out with that, and place him here and place him there. And that was fun. That was the peak of gameplay. And I feel like people who really understand the system have that experience with like every battle, and it's really satisfying and fun for the whole game. Just wasn't in my case. There's a lot of merit here. There's a lot to admire in the complexity. Like, they really went hard on this game. But I just don't think it works out for like a new player. Every enemy you encounter is like another job. They are as complex as your character, with all the same amount of abilities and stats and what have you. It's not just running into a goblin who punches you for 2 damage and you just kill him. It's never like that. Every battle is a whole thing. And there are wild battles. It'll be easy. It'll be easier than a normal level, but it'll be 20 minutes of just walk. This character walks. This character walks. This character walks. So yeah, I just don't have much to say about this story, but there's one very important thing that happens. You hear legend of this man they call the Thunder God. He's there and he goes like, I'm here to help you. My name is Sidolphus Orlando, aka Sid. Even in an alternate dimension or alternate universe, there's a new Sid. This is a Sidolphus update. And I must say, he joined your party, and he is the best character in the game. Let me just explain this to you. You know Excalibur. It's in every Final Fantasy game. You often have to do a whole long big quest, figure all this stuff out, and you get the best sword in the game, Excalibur. Sid just has it, and he joins you, and his job that he has is like a sword saint who can call holy rays from above and attack people at a distance. And he kills enemies in one hit most of the time. I can't even tell you, like, so much of this game, even when it's a positive, it's like they sweep the rug under you and go like, actually this happened. But Sid was just a blatant overpowered character who saves you. I gotta be real, No other Sid affects gameplay this hard and saved me from a pit of despair that I was in trying to play this game. I gotta give him the award. This is the best Sid in any Final Fantasy game. Because not only is he great in gameplay, but he's also like a badass. He's in a cloak and he's a sword saint and he's just like, I'm coming with you to the end. He's just a good guy. No other Sid just goes like, I'm going to make this game better now. The game is starting to get a little more enjoyable, and again, I have to say, the game has enjoyable parts. I wouldn't say it's worth it either way. My feelings on this game are very complicated, and I don't know if I'm communicating them very well. This game is also responsible for a very cool thing. Kind of story, it's a side story, it's a side quest, but anyway. You run into a town, and there's a girl, and she's like selling flowers, and the girl looks a little familiar to me. I bought the flower, moved on, didn't think about it. And later on, you can run into this girl again. She's getting attacked by enemies. And then a dude with yellow spiky hair comes in and destroys the enemy. Meet Cloud, an alternate version of Cloud's Strife and Aerith in the world of Ivalice. This is a whole storyline you can just experience with Cloud and Aerith. You don't play as Aerith, but you play as Cloud. And his job description is like, he's a soldier, which is, of course, makes a lot of sense. It was so cool. It's like my favorite part of the game, and I didn't experience it. Well, I experienced the flower girl and getting the flower, but there's apparently a lot of complex things you need to do to actually trigger this quest. I ran into it just Googling stuff on the internet later. Like, oh my god, that was Aerith? That was not only Aerith, but there's also Cloud, and you can do a whole thing. I don't know if I'm still able to do it on my game save. I don't know if I negated it, but I think you're supposed to do like almost all of the other side quests before you can do this legitimately. And I did 0 side quests. There's a lot of things in this game I missed out on. There's errands where you send party members off and then you're not able to use them, but the payoff is that you like get money or something. That never once felt worth it to me, so I never did it. There's a shop called the Poacher's Den. I don't know what it is. Every time I enter it, the fat guy there goes like, I do not serve the likes of you. And then you get kicked out. I don't know what the Poacher's Den is. What's the Poacher's Den? Is it cool? Probably not that cool. Don't really care. But man, Cloud, playable. The Cloud and Aerith storyline. By the way, guess who's not there? Tifa. So all you Cloud and Tifa fans, step back, because Aerith and Cloud, we have actual evidence of those two being destined to be together, and I couldn't be happier about that. That was just like, learning that at the end of this journey was like, wow, Aerith might actually be the right choice. All you Aerith haters, step aside. I think I said about enough about Final Fantasy Tactics. There are 2 releases I want to talk about in between this and 8. Final Fantasy Anthology is Square Enix finally saying, alright, you guys missed out. Here are those missing games from the Super Nintendo trilogy. It is a collection of 5 and 6. And you get a little soundtrack to go with it. Amazing soundtrack in both games. They changed up the dialogue, translated a little better, but I also heard the dialogue in this version is not great. I would have definitely bought that game if I knew about it, like 5 and 6 in a bundle. Ooh, that's good. So you have completed the Super Nintendo trilogy, but Final Fantasy 2 and 3 are still not available, and they won't be for some time. Not that that's a huge deal, but like, you got 5 and 6, those are the important ones. Another game came out soon after this, and it spawned a new franchise. It was called Chocobo's Mysterious Dungeon. Came out in Japan. Now I want to make a full disclaimer here. I'm not playing through the Chocobo games. Not only would that be an even bigger waste of time than this series already is, but those aren't Final Fantasy games in my opinion. I pretty much have one rule for this. If Final Fantasy's in the title, I'll play it. That's really it. And I think we covered all our bases. Whew. I apologize for this video. This is like different than normal. I was just like ranting. There's no organization. Game's not really bad. It's just rough. And the barrier of entry is incredibly high. If you thought about playing Tactics, but you're not really sure if you enjoy it because you don't know if you like that type of game, you are 100% correct. You will not like the game. If you're a fan of Fire Emblem, I would highly consider this game. You'd probably love it. I don't know if there's job system stuff in Fire Emblem, but if you can get into that, oh, you'll love this. Ooh, you'll love this. Have a happy Hallows Eve. And maybe I'll see you by Thanksgiving. Maybe Final Fantasy VIII will be our little. We'll gather around the table and have some turkey and talk about Squall's adventures. I don't know. See you next time on the Die Show. Woo!